You think you know Princess Leonor. You think you know the future Queen of Spain. But you don't. Because beneath the polished smile, something trembles. A fear she carries quietly. A fear she cannot speak aloud. And the truth behind it is nothing like anyone expects. From the outside, her world looks unbreakable. A palace. A crown waiting on the horizon. Generations of history carrying her name forward. To the world, she is the young royal who never falters, never hesitates, never cracks. But every legacy has a shadow. Every crown casts its weight long before it rests on the head meant to bear it. For Leonor, the shadow began long before she realized what it was. It began in childhood, in moments too small for newspapers to notice. The sudden hush in a hallway as adults whispered. The tight smiles from officials during formal events. The painful awareness that every gesture, every word, every misstep, would echo beyond her own life. It began with the realization that her choices were never fully hers. And in those early years, she didn't fear the crown. Not yet. Children don't fear destiny. They fear disappointment. They fear letting down the people they love. That was her first fear. Quiet. Innocent. The seed of a much larger one. As she grew older, the palace walls changed. They didn't close in. They simply became more real. The ceremonies gained weight. The protocols became sharper. The eyes on her multiplied. And every expression she wore, joy, fatigue, confusion, became something to interpret, to analyze, to judge. Still, Leonor adapted. She learned the rhythm of duty the way others learn the rhythm of a song. She became measured, poised, diligent. She trained. She studied. She prepared. But preparation cannot silence the one fear that even royalty cannot outrun, the fear of not being enough. Not for her parents. Not for Spain. Not for the crown. And that fear, deep, quiet, hidden, became the one she could not admit. Because how can a future queen confess doubt? How can she speak uncertainties when the world insists she must embody certainty itself? She carried the fear in silence. Not because she wanted to. But because she thought she had to. When she entered military training, the world assumed the hardest part would be the physical strain, the discipline, the intensity. But the truth was simpler, sharper. The hardest part was what it symbolized. That she was no longer just a girl preparing for a future role. She was stepping into it. Piece by piece, day by day. Training didn't erase her fear. But it transformed it. Discipline became a shield. Routine became comfort. Responsibility became a familiar presence she could almost lean against. And she pushed through every obstacle, not to prove strength, but to silence that whisper inside her. The whisper that said, "What if I fail? What if I cannot be who Spain needs me to be?" But fear doesn't disappear. It evolves. And Leonor's evolved into something even more complicated, the fear of losing herself. Because every royal has two lives. The public one, polished and perfect. And the private one, fragile and human. The danger comes when one starts swallowing the other. When the person becomes the role. Leonor's greatest fear is not the responsibilities waiting for her. Not the critics. Not the traditions. Not even the immense pressure of becoming Spain's first queen in generations. Her greatest fear is losing the ability to be simply Leonor. A daughter. A sister. A young woman with dreams that don't fit neatly inside royal walls. She fears that the crown, once placed, will change not only her life, but her heart. She fears that the world will stop seeing her as a person and start seeing her only as a symbol. She fears that every emotion, love, uncertainty, longing, will be viewed as a political gesture rather than a human one. And perhaps the most painful part is this: she cannot admit it. Because royalty is built on silence, on composure, on the illusion of certainty. A queen cannot speak of fear without breaking the spell the public depends on. A queen cannot reveal doubt without risking the trust her nation requires. So Leonor does what she has always done. She carries it, quietly, gracefully, alone. But fears do not diminish when hidden. They shift, they deepen, they connect themselves to new questions. Will she be able to lead with both strength and compassion? Will she be allowed to love freely? Will she ever have a life that belongs to her? What will she have to sacrifice for the role she was born into? And most haunting of all, When the moment finally comes, will Spain accept her not as an idea, but as a human being? These questions don't break her. They shape her. They push her to grow, to prepare, to rise higher than even she believes she can. They turn fear into determination, pressure into purpose. Because her story is not one of fragility. It is one of evolution. Every new chapter brings another challenge, another expectation, another layer of responsibility. But it also brings something else, clarity. A deeper understanding of who she is, and who she refuses to become. She may fear losing herself. But that same fear drives her to protect her identity more fiercely than ever. To carve out moments of authenticity in a life that rarely allows them. To anchor herself in the relationships that remind her she is loved not for her title, but for her heart. She may fear the weight of the crown. But she is learning that weight can become strength. That duty, when embraced rather than feared, can create meaning. That leadership is not about perfection, but resilience. And she may fear speaking her truth. But one day, perhaps sooner than anyone expects, she will discover that vulnerability is not weakness in a monarch. It is humanity. And humanity is what truly connects a queen to her people. Until that day, she carries her fear quietly. With dignity. With grace. With the courage to continue moving forward, even when the path feels impossibly heavy. Because the greatest leaders are not those without fear. They are those who rise in spite of it. And Princess Leonor, future Queen of Spain, is rising. Not because she is fearless. But because she is learning to live, lead, and grow beyond the fear she cannot yet confess. And that is what makes her story not only royal, but profoundly human.